Alright guys, welcome back to another edition of Intuition Express. This is the channel where we discuss everything from MBTI to philosophy to psychology. So I'm making this series because most videos and most articles that outline the MBTI personality types, they give you a lot of facts, but they don't actually paint an overall picture of what a personality type is like. So in this video, I put together a cognitive stack analysis of the Isfp, as well as an interview with an Isfp, and then afterwards I'm going to be analyzing that interview. I'm going to be breaking down her eye contact, body language, stuff of that nature. And by the time you guys are done watching this video, hopefully you'll have a much clearer understanding of the Isfp personality type as a whole, and hopefully you'll be able to identify them a lot easier. So Isfps are the sensation seekers. They are the artesians, so they focus primarily on the present. Because of that, they're rarely ambitious, and they enjoy like the simpler things in life. Family, friends, events. They're really down to earth and easygoing. So the Isfp's leading function, their dominant function or hero function, whatever you want to call it, is introverted feeling, or FI. So FI is concerned with making decisions in life under the lens of their value. What's right versus wrong? What do they believe in? Etc. It's a lot less concerned with logic, unlike the thinker. So they're always referring to their inward value system while they navigate throughout their life. So the introverted feelers, as opposed to the introverted thinkers, are much more concerned with values and personal ethics and authenticity, and the values that they have usually come from a gut instinct. They have this inner awareness where they're kind of able to tell if a person's being phony or authentic, and they're able to easily sniff out hidden motives. So because Isfps pull their values from kind of a gut instinct, they're not always able to put right into wrong into words and can often have trouble expressing that. So usually they end up expressing this through their art or their music or whatever creative endeavor they're into, or they can express it in different ways. It's just usually not as easy for them to put into words. As long as it feels valid to me and feels sincere, I'll do what I do under moniker of 9-inch nails if it's appropriate. I would hate to think I would ever be in a position where I'm faking it to get a paycheck. So the Isfps are a very unique feeling type. They have this sort of inner serenity and reserve that differentiates them from the other types, and this manifests by them they usually only open up to a few select people in their lives, and they're very emotionally closed off other than those few people. So even though they usually only choose to open up their feelings to one or two very close people, they often appear easygoing and laid back, though they can be perfectionists who hold themselves to very high standards inside. So now comes the second function, or the auxiliary function, or the parent function. It is called extroverted sensing, or SE. So SE, being a function that immerses one in reality, it makes the Isfp very realistic in focus and attentive to details. Some people refer to the Isfp as the practical dreamers because they want to make a difference with their integrity and their idealism. So the second function in their stack is the reason why many people refer to the Isfp as the adventurer or the experiencer. They always want to explore new things, whether that's some sort of recreational pursuit with their friends or traveling. The Isfps will generally gravitate towards those activities that engage their senses. I've even read of some Isfps mostly experiencing this through their phone. Some Isfps will crave primarily digital sensory experiences, and others it's nature, walks, whatever, just anything that engages their senses. So the SE also kind of gives them this practical and earthy demeanor. They try not to take other people too seriously, and they're pretty laid back overall, and they have a good sense of humor. So their SE also makes them pretty flexible people and adaptable people, so they enjoy adapting to and finding pleasure in everyday activities. Alright, so now comes their third function in their stack. It is also called the child function, or the tertiary function, and in the Isfp's case, it is the introverted intuition, or the NI. So when the Isfp becomes concerned with the underlying meanings or the symbolic significance or the big picture or the future implications, this is as a result of their introverted intuition. So this is the Isfp's third function. It's their tertiary function, so it's not going to be very developed. However, it sometimes manifests when the Isfp is trying to put into words something, but they're not quite able to do it. It may be on the tip of their tongue. They feel like they know it, but they're not able to actually communicate it. The function usually manifests in very subtle ways during the Isfp's younger years because it's not very well developed. However, once they become older, they're going to be better at using their introverted intuition. So now comes the fourth function in their stack. It is their inferior function, also called the extroverted thinking. So this is the function that they use when they need to organize their environment in an objective way, in an impersonal way, and they need to get things done. However, because this is their weakest function out of all their 4 functions, they have trouble doing this, and it will usually only manifest during times of stress. So because they lead with introverted feeling, they're usually a lot more comfortable with looking at life through the lens of what they're comfortable with, what's authentic to them, and what they believe. So making decisions with extroverted thinking can be really difficult. Like suggesting things to people in a very objective and impersonal manner is something that the Isfp will not generally do unless they're under a great deal of stress. They don't like the idea of impacting others negatively or making them feel uncomfortable. So when they do start using their extroverted thinking, or when they fall into the grip of their inferior function, which is their extroverted thinking, they become uncharacteristically fixated on fixing problems and righting wrongs and organizing their lives. Because they feel so bad being critical to others in their regular state using their introverted feeling, they can sometimes, their TE can manifest by them fantasizing about being straight up with people and telling them for how it is. So as the Isfp further develops, they will use their extroverted thinking to draw conclusions about their external circumstances and their feeling to provide a subjective response to their thinking judgments. This allows them to see potential injustices or notice situations that aren't fair. They will also pair their TE and their FI to kind of assess which external rules are worthwhile or logical. And again, because the TE is so subconscious for them, they will often struggle with getting their point across to other people by speaking their mind and forming judgments and asserting their position in an argument. So as a result, they're more likely to address situations through their extroverted sensing or through their actions rather than their words, as an extroverted thinking Dom would. Alright, so now that we've analyzed the ISFP's cognitive stack, we're going to be analyzing an interview of an ISFP, which I conducted, and I'm just going to play this interview through so you guys can watch it, but at certain points where I want to make a note, I'm going to pause it. There's a couple questions that I'm going to ask Josie here, and they're all going to kind of point towards her approach of life and kind of how she views life. Anyways, the first question that I'm going to ask you, Josie, is myself being an INTP and you being an ISFP, we obviously approach life very differently. I just kind of want you to outline like how you think you approached your life differently from mine. She's gonna answer how she would normally.
He's like a lot more to himself and like doesn't really like, he's always on his computer.
So one of the things that I've read about and observed myself is the difference in smiling between personality types. So the introverted feeler smile versus the extroverted feeler smile actually has some pretty notable differences. So the introverted feelers, so the FPs or the TJs, they will have this smile that is very compressed in the lip, the upper lip to nose area, and they will tend to put a lot of pressure in that area versus the FE smile. It's much more wide and open. So if you look really closely, you'll notice that the manner in which she smiles, she tends to put a lot more emphasis on the upper lip and nose area. She's almost snarling, and that's what the FI smile that's how the FI smile differs from the FE smile.
Yeah. And he never posts on Instagram or like goes on Snapchat. He doesn't even like he's never interested in like celebrities or like TikTok or like anything like what's it called, pop culture. All he cares about is like computers and like psychology.
So the difference highlighted here is mainly a difference of how we choose to take in our information. So I take information through my extroverted intuition, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, she's more of an extroverted sensing person, so her interests are more sensory versus mine are more abstract. Alright, so one thing I've kind of observed, I'm not sure if this is like very true, but I think like the majority of your conversations with your friends, especially, I've observed like more so have to do with people, place, and things rather than like ideas, concept. Like, what do you say about that?
Well, it depends. Like, what's like when we're just hanging out like during the day, like when we're just like going on walks and stuff, or like I don't know, just hanging out. Like I don't know. It's mostly just like about other people and like, yeah, like stuff that's like going on. But then like if we like hang out all night, then we talk about, I don't know, like, ideas and stuff like that.
So again, this is her sensing preference at play. Her conversations are going to, as a result, be more about the concrete, the people, places, things. She can have intuitive conversations. Everyone can. It's just that she has a preference for more sensory conversations. And again, like everyone has intuition. It's in her third slot, so it's just not going to be as well developed as someone who has it in their first or second slot. Okay, so when you're thinking about life, we're all born and then we die. And there's this huge stretch of time in between. And ultimately what we're trying to do on this planet is decide what to do with the stretch of time. And we're trying to create meaning from the time we're born to the time we die. So I want you to describe what you think is the best thing to do in between the point when we're born and when we die.
Definitely building relationships with other people and making friends.
So everything she states here is very characteristic of the ISFP personality type. So first, she wants to build relationships. So ultimately, what that means is she wants harmony, she wants people to get along, and that's where the value comes in her life. Versus a thinker may have said, I value knowledge and understanding things. I value efficiency. And then there was her preference for experiences. So extroverted sensing, the ISFP, that's ultimately what they want, that's a big part of what they live for, is just going from day to day and experiencing things, anything sensory, whether that's digitally or environmentally, just anything that gets them interacting with their environment. So ISFPs love anything that kind of stimulates them physically, so as a result, they may value food very much, or warmth, or just anything comfortable, blankets, stuff like that.
And basically all just about experiences.
So let's talk about experiences. So if you're going to, say, a party or a bar with your friend, do you feel like you get the most satisfaction out of your experience of that party? Or do you feel like you're more concerned with your friends' experiences?
I don't really think about that. I feel like whenever I'm having fun, my friends are too. And if they aren't, then I don't really notice.
What would you say makes you stand out or makes you unique from other people? It doesn't necessarily have to be something that other people would say, but what have you noticed about yourself that you believe to be different from other people?
Compared to all my friends, I try to make everything pretty.
Okay,
so about aesthetics a lot.
Yeah, so this trait is probably the strongest correlation to the ISFP personality type. So they have finely attuned artistic sensibilities. They're really sensitive to color, texture, and tone, and they just have an intrinsic sense of what's aesthetically pleasing. And this is something that Josie has always been naturally good at and naturally excelled in compared to other people. She spends a lot of time keeping up to date with fashion trends and painting and little artistic projects here and there. So that's something to look out for if you're trying to type someone as an ISFP. So
most people don't.
So I noticed one of the things you gravitate towards, which ISFPs are known for, is the art and the fashion. Why do you enjoy doing that, and what kind of pulls you towards those creative endeavors, and why?
Because it looks good. I feel it that's what I like seeing, so that's what I try and do with every night.
So the ISFPs love things that are sensory. They view the world in a very concrete way, so they place a lot of emphasis on how things look in their physical environment, and they like to express themselves in physical terms. Lots of the time they don't really have a reason behind or meaning behind underneath the things that they do, and fixating all their focus on just design and how things look makes them an expert in the aesthetics field of the world, and that's where they're going to shine. Alright, so I think I've communicated all that I want to about the ISFP personality type in this video. However, I'm going to be making many more videos just like this one. I'm going to be interviewing other personality types, so if you want to see more of these, I'm going to be making many more of them, so subscribe.